Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. How to be happy at a job you hate. That's what we're talking about today. I'm gonna go over the action to take, the way to think about this, and then my experience. Okay, so how to be happy at a job you hate. These are not gonna be instant fixes, what I go over today. What they are going to be is it's going to help you get in a framework and a state of mind to get out of the job, and some things that can help you enjoy your job while you're there. So first, the action to take. And the first thing I would do if I was at a job that I hated was identify why I hated the job. Now this may seem silly because you may just be frustrated with what you're doing, but the reason you do this is so that then you can reverse engineer these reasons to find a job you would like. So, for example, let's say you're at a job and you hate the environment and you hate the way that the managers and communication is handled. Kind of related, but let's just say the culture is not very supportive and the managers are, there's a discrepancy of what their expectations are and what they actually do. Let's say that's an example. Well, from there, you have those reasons written down. In the next job search, you're gonna be like, okay, I wanna make sure to vet these things. And then you can make sure ahead of time, the best of your ability, you're able to find out and see to make sure you never end up in a job like this again. So what I would do is identify why you hate the job, because sometimes when you're in it, you're like, oh my gosh, I dislike everything about this. But it's not everything, it's just a few select things. So then after that, I would create a plan to get excited about. Visualize what does amazing look like at your next job, and then create a strategy to get out of your current job to transition to the next job. Like I said, it's not gonna be an instant fix, but what it will do is it'll have you be excited about getting out of your current job and then changing into something that isn't something you hate. So it can be really difficult when you don't have a plan and you don't feel good about where you're at. But when you have a plan that can excite you and allow you to push through the environment you hate or whatever it may be at the job. And with this, once you've written down and identified why you hate the job, then you could look at maybe there's some things I can fix. Sometimes things can pile up over time. Little interactions between you and your manager, or other things like where you don't get praise over time for things you're doing for your work. What you can do is if you can figure out how to fix these problems, maybe you don't hate the job as much. So once you write down these problems, maybe you get an epiphany like, oh man, I can actually probably fix these, and maybe you can stay at the job. So, like I said, none of these are gonna be instant fixes, but this action can help get the ball rolling to make sure you're either A, not in a job you hate, or fix the job that you hate. So that can give you some options, and you'll feel a lot better about it when you're taking some action on this stuff. And if you do feel this way, take the balance wheel in the description below. The balance wheel doesn't only look at the professional side of things, but it's gonna look at relationships, health, and resources so that you can see what changes do you wanna make. With that, that brings me to my second point of the way to think. Again, these are things just in my opinion, and they're not gonna be instant fixes. I wanna preface that now. But one thing that can be helpful is gratitude. I know when I've been in situations that I've disliked, if I practice some gratitude, it tends to help me feel a lot better for the opportunities I've been provided, but the opportunities that I'm in and I'm taking advantage of. So if you can practice some gratitude, maybe there are things at the job that you do like, maybe it's the pay and that's it, whatever it may be, if you can be grateful for it, it will help you push through some of the day-to-day things. At least that's what I've noticed. Another thing to do is to reframe and consider what are actually the good things about the job. I work at Costco and I'm almost out of working at Costco, but I really struggled there for a while and really disliked the job. But I had to consider what are some reframes I can do to actually say what are some good things about the job. And I found that I actually enjoy being with my coworkers, and I enjoy it's not low stress environment, but maybe low expectation environment, if you will. So it's like, I'm just responsible for being a cashier. Like, it's not that big of a deal, right? So it's like, some of those things are kind of nice from time to time. It's not where I want to be at, But being able to reframe that helped me enjoy the job a little bit more when I thought about the benefits, when I thought about how fortunate I am to have a great college job like it was. All those things helped me push through the day-to-day things that were upsetting, but overall, it made me dislike the job less, if you will. So those can be some helpful things. And then another thing is give permission to enjoy the small things of the job. Sometimes we'll label our jobs as binary, like I do hate or I don't hate, or I like or I don't like my job. Just give yourself permission to enjoy certain things about the job and not dislike other things about the job. Keep track of what you enjoy and dislike, and then work to get to a situation to get better. It's all about the action you take. Again, not gonna be instant, but when you're on the path to this, it'll feel a lot better when you can identify these things, allow yourself to enjoy the small things, and try not to dwell on some of the things that you dislike that happen. That can help you get through if you're not just dwelling on that all the time. Be mindful of it. Realize that it's the job, if you're there for 8 hours a day, it is probably about 60 to 70% of your day, but realize you still have 30%. You'll still have 30% out of the job that you can make a great day. And that's what I encourage you to do. Do not dwell on the small things and try to just move on from them. That can kind of help. At least that's what I've noticed. Finally, that moves to my final point of my experience with this. What have I done to get out of my jobs and feel better about them? So what I've done is I've done step 1 of the action to take, and I've practiced step 2 of how to think about things, and those things have all helped me so much. So, and actually another mental framework that can be helpful is you might actually miss the job just a little bit. Now, I'm not saying this for all jobs, but when I look back at Mower Medic, which was a funny mowing company I used to work at, and I didn't really love the job, but when I look back on it, I'm like, man, I really miss like the scheduling, some of the joking around I did with my coworkers and stuff like that. It was fun, right? Same thing with Costco. I'm almost out of there, and when I look back on it, I know I'll miss it. So you may miss things a little bit, and realize that and try to take advantage of it while you're there. It'll also help you not hate it as much. So another thing is, sometimes I found I like to trap and label myself. So I was like, about 2 years ago during the holidays, I was like, I can't have a good holiday because I work at Costco, because Costco's so busy, it's really stressful there. And my friend had to call me out, and it's like, why can't you have a good holiday? I call that trapping and labeling. So I trapped myself by saying I can't, and then I labeled and gave myself a thing that I have to feel. But neither of them are true. I can still have a good holiday and still work at Costco. Working at Costco does not affect Christmas Day when I'm not working at all. So try to get out of that. If you find yourself trapping and labeling yourself, it can be helpful to stop doing that. It will help you not hate the job as much and associate it so much. So that could be helpful. Not gonna fix it again, but it can be helpful. And then another thing to think about, it's short-term framework. Once you create the action plan to get out, it's gonna be a short-term position, and you can maybe change some of the things you disliked. And again, one more thing that helped me is try to make it fun. That's what I did at Costco, is I tried to make every interaction I had fun, and it made the job a lot better. Every member that came up, every manager I talked to, every coworker I worked with, I just tried to have fun. And it made it a lot more enjoyable. I didn't hate it as much. So again, guys, that's what we talked about. It's not gonna be an instant fix. None of these things are gonna fix it instantly, but it can get you on the path to start the fix that you want, and hopefully they were helpful.